All right, what have we got next?
So this is a film that I saw, and you haven't seen yet. It's called The Vast of Night. It's available on Amazon Prime at the moment. It's directed by Andrew Patterson, starring Jake Horowitz and Sierra McCormick. It's a sci-fi, and it's kind of like a slow burn thriller. And when I say slow burn, I mean very slow burn to begin with. But in a funny way, it speeds up and almost alternates its pacing. The pace is a very important part of this film because so it starts off and you've got a TV set and it presents itself as a program called Paradox Theatre, which I think is a copyright free form of the Twilight Zone or the Scary Door. But straight away from that, we get this sense of like this kind of decontextualized episodic adventure from basically the middle of bumfuck nowhere in New Mexico. So we've got this like very small town. No one really leaves or comes by. It's kind of very isolated, and this is another theme. There's a huge amount of isolation. The two main characters are this boy who, I mean, he must be like a teenager, like a high school graduate recently, and he works for the local radio, and a high school girl that is working on the switchboards. And so the two of them have a vague relationship, which isn't really confirmed throughout the whole thing, but they have a connection through their love of radio. And one fateful night, while there's the entire town is absorbed by a local basketball game, there is an interruption to the signal on the local radio, and they go on an adventure to find out what this interruption could possibly be. And during this, we have some other characters that are introduced who all seem to come from the peripheries of society. So in a way, it kind of reflects the marginalized communities in the US, but in societies in general. So we have kind of the marginalized voices of women that were kind of subjugated and forced into roles as domesticated housewives. And again, we have people of color that are put onto the peripheries of society and have their credibility kind of stripped away from them.
I'm loving these beautifully put words. But so these two kids discover, what was it? What is going on in this town? These two kids discover
an interruption to their radio signal.
Okay, got it.
And so they get a phone call, and it turns out in a very much an Americana, New Mexico way, we seem to have a little bit of a clue that there might be a bit of a Roswell incident going on.
Okay.
So suddenly there are reports that come in from the callers that they talk about maybe lights in the sky or some sounds that they've heard that remind them of a life long ago. And so this kind of develops into a bit of a search, but you know, the way that it's shot is quite interesting because they start off and you have these very kind of labored long length shots. I mean, at one point at the beginning of the film, there's a shot that lasts about 9.5 minutes, I think, and it's a speech and it pans around the entire town, and it follows this thing, which kind of it gives a good indication of just how small this area is that's being affected, but also kind of like how connected up everything is, especially through kind of the medium of radio, which is quite interesting.
Okay, I got you. I mean, I'm all for those long one takes and stuff, but I feel like as the technique itself has gotten a bit easier to manage with technology, I feel like more films are just throwing it in there for the sake of it. So as long as it's serving a purpose, I guess
it can appear a bit gimmicky. Yeah. I do admit, but in this, I think they use that in a way where towards the end of the film you see the shots get much quicker, and suddenly you've got whereas you might have had one shot for 2 minutes, at the end you have 10 shots for 1 minute, and suddenly everything kind of shifts and the pace changes and everything becomes a little bit delirious, like an episode of The Twilight Zone.
Okay, that actually sounds like something I might be interested, to be honest.
I thought
Well-
it was great.
Well, what was your? Unless you have anything more to say, what was the verdict?
I gave it a 7 out of 10. I couldn't give it too high a rating because I feel like, it seemed a little bit limited at times, and there were moments where I felt like there could have been better development. But, for the effort they put out, I'd say it was a decent job. So 7 out of 10.
Okay, I will. After that 7, I probably will give it a go. And you say it's on Amazon.
On Amazon Prime,
All
yeah.
right, wonderful. Other streaming services are available.